On this worksheet, we're just going to do a variety of different types of unit conversions. Some of them are going to be metric to metric conversions, which we've practiced before, but some of them are going to be conversions between the US and metric system. So we'll start with that first problem, converting 5 pounds to grams. Now, one of the things that is important for you to keep in mind is that a US to metric conversion is not something that scientists do very often. And so it's not a good use of your brain space to memorize these conversion factors. You should always just use the internet to look them up, which is exactly what I'm going to do here. You could even, which maybe is sort of a little bit cheating, you could just use the internet to do this conversion, 5 pounds to grams. And Google will do that conversion for you. But in the interest of wanting to, show how to set this problem up, we could look up a conversion between pounds and grams to get that actual conversion factor. So this is telling us that 1 pound is equal to 400 and I'm going to round this 454 grams. So this is how we would set that conversion up, and the gram unit or the pound units cancel and we end up with units of grams, which even though I looked it up, I don't remember what the number was. 5 times 454 is 2270 grams. And it's also really likely that your calculator has a unit converter in it that would do this conversion for you. Now, in terms of converting within the metric system, that is something that you should know how to do. You should be able to do that without using like a calculator or without using Google. So we want to start by writing the number and the unit, 5.02 times 10 to the minus 4 grams. Then we want a conversion factor that lets us cancel out the gram unit. So we want that gram unit on the bottom and nanogram up on top. Nano is the prefix for 10 to the minus 9. So that means 1 nano is 10 to the minus 9. And then we just have to do this math here. 5.02 times 10 to the negative 4 divided by 1 times 10 to the negative 9. 5.02 times 10 to the 5. I should have been able to do that one in my head. And I'm just going to move this prefix up there. So for our next one, we have another metric to metric, and this problem we are converting from a prefixed unit to another prefixed unit. So unlike the previous problem, we were converting between a prefixed unit and a non-prefixed unit. This one we're converting between two prefixed units. And unless you're really familiar with the metric system, the easiest way to approach this is to convert from the prefixed unit to the non-prefixed unit, and then convert from the non-prefixed unit into the new prefixed unit like that. So this would be our strategy. We need to know that centi represents 10 to the minus 2 and milli represents 10 to the minus 3. 1 centi is 10 to the minus 2. I made a little typo here. This should be a milli, not a nano. 1 milli is 10 to the minus 3. And it can be a little bit confusing when you're setting these up. Where does the 1 go and where does the actual number go? The 1 always goes with the prefixed unit because 1 centi is 10 to the minus 2 because centi is 10 to the minus 2. So just double checking that we've done this correctly. The centis cancel out, and then the meters cancel out, and we're left with units of millimeters. 8.43 divided or times 10 to the minus 2 divided by 10 to the minus 3. If you're getting these numbers like close to right, but they're not exactly right, like you're getting the 8 and the 4 and the 3 part, but it's not 84.3, maybe it's 8.43, or maybe it's 0.843, or it's 843, or some other version of that. That's not close enough. If you're not getting 84.3, you're setting these problems up incorrectly in your calculator. most likely you're doing something wrong in entering the 10 to the minus 2 and the 10 to the minus 3. So you need to like kind of figure out how to make your calculator work to give you the correct answer. Some students assume, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I got pretty much the same thing, but not exactly the same thing. It actually is a big deal. Make sure you're getting the exact number. Here's another one where we're going from a non-prefixed unit to a prefixed unit. Start by writing the number that's given to us, 1.445 times 10 to the 4th meters. We want to multiply by a conversion factor that has meters on the bottom and kilo on the top. Let's go get all of these conversion factors. Kilo is the prefix for 10 to the 3. So that means 1 kilo is 10 to the 3. And the meter unit cancels. And this is going to be, let's see how it shows up on the calculator. 1.44 times 10 to the 4th divided by 1 times 10 to the 3, 14.45 kilometers. Or if you were doing this in your head, you might have said 1.445 times 10 to the 1 kilometer, which means the same thing. They both represent the same number. And one is not more correct than the other. How many kilograms are in 15 milligrams? So this is just a fancier way of wording this type of problem. This problem here is just essentially saying convert 15 megagrams into kilograms. I think I initially said milli. So even though it's phrased a little bit differently, we're still doing the same thing. We're starting with 15 megagrams, and we want to convert that into kilograms. Because we're going from a prefixed unit to another prefixed unit, we should start by going from the prefixed unit to the base unit, the non-prefixed unit, and then step number 2, convert into the new prefixed unit. We've already got kilo up here. 1 kilo is 10 to the 3rd. We just need to add the mega. Mega is 10 to the 6th. 1 megagram is 10 to the 6th grams. Let's take a look at the canceling of the units, just to make sure that everything has been set up correctly. This is going to be 15 times 10 to the 3, or if we put this into our calculator, I'm going to put this into my calculator. 15 times 1 times 10 to the 6 divided by 1 times 10 to the 3. My calculator gives me 15,000. And your calculator, if it's set on scientific notation, might give you 1.5 times 10 to the 4 kilograms. So these last two are going to be a little bit more complicated. This one is telling us that we have a substance with a density of 2.7 grams per milliliter, and it wants us to express that into units of kilograms per centiliter. So we've got to convert both the gram unit and the milliliter unit, and we're just going to do that one unit conversion at a time. It doesn't matter if you start with the gram unit or if you start with the milliliter unit. I'm just going to start with the gram unit. So for a minute, we're just going to pretend like this is a conversion from gram to kilogram, because that is our desired mass unit. Kilo is the prefix for 10 to the 3, so that means 1 kilo is 10 to the 3 grams. That's going to get that mass unit correct. And then in the next step, we'll do the same thing by converting our milliliters into centiliters. Because this is going from a prefixed unit to another prefixed unit, the safest way to do this is to convert from milliliters to liters, and then to convert from liters to centiliters. Milli is the prefix for 10 to the minus 3. That means 1 milli is 10 to the minus 3 liters. Centi is the prefix for 10 to the minus 2, so 1 centi is 10 to the minus 2. The milliliters have canceled, the liters have canceled, and our units at the end are going to be kilograms per centiliter, which is exactly what we want. We've got a lot of numbers to go into the calculator here. 2.7 divided by 1 times 10 to the 3 divided by 1 times 10 to the minus 3, so that cancels out, times 1 times 10 to the minus 2. This is 0.027 kilograms per centiliter. And we have one more problem on here. This is telling us that the volume of a diamond is 2.8 milliliters, and it wants us to express this in units of carats. Oh, it's asking us what the mass is. So density is a conversion factor. It's like a conversion factor that allows us to convert between units of grams and milliliters. We can use the density to convert between mass and a volume of an object. So in this problem, we're going to be using the density to convert from milliliters into grams. The density tells us that there are 3.51 grams in every milliliter, so those units will cancel out. It's asking us specifically to solve for the mass in units of carats, and the conversion between carats and grams are provided. So for our next step, we want to cancel out that gram unit and convert into the carat unit using this relationship, which tells us that 1 carat is 0.200 grams. So that's going to give us 2.8 times 3.51 divided by 0.2, 49.14 carats.